Are Tenpai players obnoxious? Well, not really. It really depends on the person. If the person's obnoxious, they're just obnoxious. But welcome to your daily dose of your internet ruling videos. Hey guys, this is Tom Box, and in today's video, we're going to cover one correction and two additional rulings that are most commonly argued among players. And we're going to solve this whole problem so that, right before Indy, you don't have to run into these rulings. You'll save some time, and maybe you won't lose in time. And the whole point is we're educating ourselves, equipping ourselves with the right knowledge so you don't get screwed by the rules or screwed by your opponent messing with the rules. One or the other. Before we proceed, I'm dropping an announcement that we got new products that dropped at MST.TV. If you want to bring out your inner fire, we just dropped the Heart Ablaze foil sleeves. And by popular demand, we dropped our second NFT. No, not a non-fungible token. The NFT sleeve, not for trade. And yes, we made them for two sizes, but standard card sizes, as well as the Japanese card size. Now, aside from the new stuff, we also restocked our essentials, our tournament white sleeves. Just listen to that smooth shuffling. All our Carbon Series sleeves feel like the old PC that you know and love, that nostalgic, smooth feel. And we also offer even more protection for your expensive foil sleeves via our over sleeves. Sorting your collection has never been easier with our box dividers and subdividers. And we also believe on expressing your inner energy with our premium foil sleeves. The fire sleeves, of course, we have the Alti Ego, Alti Instinct. These are, cemented as some of the best sleeves on the market. Even your binder slots can be personalized. Next time someone tries to pull out a card that you're trying to keep, point to the sleeve and be like, hey, admire only. So check us out at MSTmerch.com, MSTmerch.com. Thank you guys for hitting the like button, hit subscribe, ding that notification bell. I kind of plastered the play button now. You know what? Let's just go. Guys, ruling question number one is going to be a correction from the previous video relating to the Unchained Link monsters versus Sangan summoning. In fact, I'm just going to address the whole thing as, both monsters. We have Unchained Soul of Anguish and Rage. I put in the incorrect monster last time. Even the timing of it was all wrong because Unchained Soul of Anguish is the one that I put in, but it should have been Rage. So we're just going to address the entire package with both monsters so that we're clear on this. So on the field, there is an Unchained Soul of Anguish and there's also an Unchained Soul of Rage. We're going to go through two turns in this ruling question, and there is a Sangan summoning and there are a couple monsters on the opposing side. One special summon, so, just so that the Rage has a legal target per se, all right? And so to do this, starting off with the Unchained Soul of Anguish. And can Unchained Soul of Anguish affect the opposing monster that is an effect monster and use it as a link material during the Unchained player's turn? The answer is yes, it can. Why? Why can't it? I thought the monsters are protected through Sangan summoning. The answer, you know what, let's go through the root problem first. It is because of how people read the card, or how they explain the card to people. Saying, oh, what does that card do? Oh, during main phase 1, Fire Dragon monsters are unaffected by activate effects. You know what? That's kind of true. That's partially true. That's mostly true. But the most important aspect was kind of left out. The specifics was left out. You said during main phase 1, rather than during my main phase 1, my monsters are unaffected. That's a key difference because that means during the opponent's main phase 1, your monsters are not protected. And that's why during the mirror match of Tenpai players, the turn player has a lot more advantage building their board during main phase if they have the field spell versus the opponents having a field spell. It doesn't really matter because it doesn't really do anything during main phase 1 for them. And so, of course, the Unchained Soul of Anguish will be able to link off the opposing Fire Dragon monsters. Okay? So now we go into part 2. What about Unchained Soul of Rage? Say now it's the Tenpai player's turn, and there is Sangan summoning on the field, and there is a special summon monster on the field. And during the main phase 1, they attempt to activate Unchained Soul of Rage and target said Tundra. All right, will that Unchained Soul of Rage be able to link off that Tundra? The answer is no, because Unchained Soul of Rage is still technically an activated effect. And now we are actually under the protection of Sangan summoning. Well, basically, that monster is unaffected by the Unchained Soul of Rage because it did target it, and to apply its effect to convert it into, say, a link material and to perform that link summon, it needs to affect that monster. And it quite simply is unaffected at this current point because that's still technically an activated effect, not some sort of lingering effect. It still needs to apply its effect onto that card. There, this is the correction. We have addressed it and also addressed the root problem of how people read cards. So when you guys do read your cards, if there's anything that's like specific to your turn or my turn, those details shouldn't be skipped. So ruling question number 2 is related to Bacha the Melodious Maestra. Through Ostinato, a Bacha has been summoned onto, say, my side of the field, alright? And on my side of the field, I have the Bacha. I activate the Bachas on Fusion Summon effect to summon out another monster. My opponent activates, say, a card like Infinite Impermanence for the negation. So this is Bacha versus negation. And so, you know, I say, oh, while you control this Fusion Summon card, the activated effects of your Melodious Fusion monsters cannot be negated. Okay, so this is a Fusion Summon monster, and it is a Fusion monster, so it can't be negated through the Imperm. At least that's the argument that's coming out from, I guess, my side. And then my opponent goes, oh, but I'm negating it anyway. And then the argument stems out, say I call a judge, and you come over, and I'm like, oh, they explain the situation to you. What's your answer? You have 5 seconds, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and the answer is the Infinite Impermanence will be able to negate the Bacha. But why? I thought the activated effects of your Melodious Fusion monster cannot be negated. Yeah, but Infinite Impermanence does not negate the activated effect per se, it negates the entire monster. That's right. So in other words, that part that protects the activated effects, that's also negated, and your entire effect is negated. So yeah, your Bacha essentially just became a vanilla monster under the guise of Imperm. So, but what about the other negations? Well, there's a couple to look at. 1, Ash Blossom. 2, there's probably Herald of the Orange Light or Gamma or something that negates the activation of the card. And we'll throw in, say, a Mirror Sword Knight in there as well. So for Ash Blossom, Bacha will be able to summon a refrain because it will not be affected. You know, they cannot be negated per se because you're trying to negate the effect. Ash negates the effect, cannot negate effect, monster gets summoned. What about negating the activation? Aren't you stopping the effect? We're kind of jumping back into like the whole wording of these cards, but if you try to use, say, a Solemn Strike against, say, the Bacha, you will be able to negate it because you're negating the activation, you're not negating the effect. So in other words, you never really got to the point where the effect is truly resolving per se. So if you negate the activation, yeah, it will negate the activation, and if you're using like Herald of the Orange Light or Cyframe Gear Gamma, you will negate and destroy the Bacha. That's just how it is. And as for a Mirror Sword Knight, since I'm playing Chimera, the Mirror Sword Knight is very similar to Ash because we're negating the effect of the monster, and so the Bacha will basically not be negated through the Mirror Sword Knight and still be able to summon out the refrain from the deck. So Infinite Impermanence, it will negate the entire card, making the protection basically unreliable. Ash Blossom cannot negate it because it's attempting to negate the effect, which cannot be negated. And then there is Herald of the Orange Light negating activation. It will negate the activation and likely follow through with whatever other effects that come out with it. So that's the gist of it. Imperm will negate, Ash won't be able to affect it, negating activation will still negate it. So question number 3, this is going to be Daruma Karma Cannon versus the Sangen Summoning and the Tenpai Dragons. This is actually a 2-layer question, so let's see if we can break it down. And honestly, a question like this probably should be in an RC2 quiz just so it can test your knowledge on how unaffected monsters work, plus layer it with conjunctions. You know, layering is very common, and that's kind of how you test your knowledge. So we have me, say I'm the Tenpai player, and the opposing player is using the Daruma Karma Cannon, but they don't have a single monster on their side of the field. But they decide to go, you know what, in the main phase, seeing that I have, you know, Transcendent Dragon, they're like, oh, I gotta activate this in the main phase. So they activate the Daruma Karma Cannon during the main phase, but they don't have any monsters. But my monsters are being protected by Sangen Summoning. I'm like, well, nothing happens. And then they argue, saying, oh, but you have to send all your cards to the graveyard because it affects the player. Call a judge, you come over, what's your answer? 5 seconds, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, let's go. In this particular scenario, the results for this one in particular, nothing happens. It's not because of Sangen Summoning preventing me from sending my cards away. No, that is not it. It is the conjunction of Daruma Karma Cannon. Daruma Karma Cannon has a then conjunction attached to the effect. So there's do A, then do B. So do A means to flip all of the monsters on the field face down. If that does not get satisfied, if not a single monster gets flipped down, so 0 monster gets flipped, then you don't do the second part because the first part was not fulfilled. This is in direct relation to the conjunctions of Yu-Gi-Oh! There is and if you do, then, and then there's also. So those are the 4 key conjunctions. And if you do and then are very, very similar. All the key difference here is that the timing consideration of what was the last action that occurred. Then is not considered simultaneous. It's considered as one action, then the other. So the last thing that happened is only B. Whereas, and if you do, the entire thing is considered as the same timing. So if you have, say, you require a monster to be summoned, say like a torrential tribute, then, and if you do, it summons, and if you do this, it's still considered as the last action. The summon still counts. Whereas if it was a then conjunction, you do a summon and then you do something else, torrential tribute will not be able to activate because the last action was no longer a summon anymore. So that's the difference between the timing of those, and requires both actions to be done. If you can't do both, you don't do either. And then there's also which is A does not have to be satisfied to do B. That's the conjunction. That's the conjunctions in a nutshell. Some people might even question the legality of the activation of the Daruma Karma Cannon because, nothing was happening at all. Well, here's the thing about protection-based effect for the most part. This is a generalization. It's not actually for all cases. But when it comes to protection-based effect, where, cards are unaffected by X, Y, and Z. Say a card is unaffected, or a card cannot be destroyed by card effect, or cannot be destroyed by battle. Well, cannot be destroyed by card effect. Can you activate a Regeki, or Regeki break and target that card? Well, yeah, you could. Just that on resolution, it will basically perform its duty and not be destroyed. The effect will apply, it'll try to apply, not get applied because it cannot apply, and then kind of at the end of that effect. The same can be said about this, like for unaffected cards. You're attempting to affect the card, it's unaffected, and then it kind of just moves on. But say there was a monster on the field for this particular Daruma Karma Cannon, a card does get flipped face down, so you left a monster on face up on your own side, it gets flipped face down, then the then condition is met, and then, well, the player will have to send away all the dragons into the graveyard. So yeah, that's kind of the generic breakdown. If you want to kind of dive deeper, like if you want an example of cards that need to be preemptively negated before you can apply a card onto it, then think about like control changing based effects, such as like, a blindly loyal goblin. Control this card cannot be changed. Can you attempt to activate change a heart on that card? No. Can you triple tack that card over? No. But if you negated the card, then yes, it kind of reopens up that targeting avenue for you. Can reopen the application of a card effect so that it does do something. There are just different layers to this. It's a lot more complicated, but that's kind of general rundown of the rulings I have for today. Now, before I close out this video, I got new product launch announcements. Of course, I have them in hand. Here's a quick preview. We have the NFT2 sleeves, and they come in 2 different sizes. The big brother for the standard size, of course, the little brother for the smaller size as well. And these are tech shield free, so that you can use as an oversleeve. I actually use these ones as my oversleeves, because why not? They're mostly clear. And finally, one of my most proud products of the year. Took forever to get this one. This is the Heart Ablaze Willpower series. If you guys want those hot hands, those fiery hot hands, then this is for you. I use this for my extra deck, and it looks so good. It's also a very foil sleeve. I can't do it justice with this lighting, but I think when you see it in person, you'll love it even more. But yeah, that's it for this video. If you guys enjoyed this video, smash that thumbs up, and check out subscribe, ding that notification bell, and check out MSTmerch.com. Messed up the wording there, but thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one or at Indie.